Hey guys, today I'm going to talk to you about spices. Spices are a great way to add a lot of flavor to your recipes and to your dishes without adding a lot of fat and calories, and it keeps the flavor bumped up. And so I like to add just a few basic spices to a lot of my recipes. I don't like to add, spices to my recipes or to my everyday dishes that are going to cause me to go out and buy a special spice and use it only once because that's impractical, and I really like to keep things simple in the kitchen. So I just like to use a few basic spices that I can use time and time again, and it adds a lot of delicious flavor to my recipe. So I'm going to talk to you about what those are. If you have pretty much any of these on hand, you can make almost any recipe on Dashing Dish with these basic spices. So of course, salt and pepper, those are obvious. And if you're on a low sodium diet, a lot of times people say, how can I cut salt? Honestly, you don't have to even add salt to any of the recipes. This is just based on your personal taste or preference. Chili powder and cumin, and usually I like to keep these kind of together because they go together. So chili powder and cumin are great for Mexican dishes. You can really make your own taco seasoning with just a little chili powder, some cumin, and some salt. And so these are great to have on hand if you're doing any kind of Mexican inspired dish. I like to do an Italian seasoning blend because that's oregano and basil just dried into one seasoning, and it keeps it simple. But you can also just get basil and oregano separate. So let's say that a recipe calls for a half teaspoon of basil, half teaspoon of oregano. You just use 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning because it's just a blend of the two. Garlic and onion powder. These are really good for adding flavor without having to mince your own garlic or even have minced garlic on hand, and it really packs a powerful punch. So a lot of times if a recipe calls for, chopped onions and you just don't have time to sit there and chop onions, or you don't have any on hand, you can add a little bit of onion powder or garlic powder, and it gives you some great flavor. And then what else do I have here? Oh, I also have some minced onions. So this is just dried onion. And this isn't something that you really have to have, but it's also a great flavor benefit to your recipes. Dried parsley, if you don't have fresh parsley on hand, but you're making, say, an Italian-inspired dish, dried parsley is great, and it also makes recipes and dishes look really beautiful. So a lot of times I'll just sprinkle some dried parsley before handing over a dish to somebody, because a lot of times I give food away to neighbors and to friends and to people at church and things like that. So I just do some dried parsley, and it automatically makes for a beautiful presentation. And then cinnamon. Cinnamon is a great one to have because you can add it to sweet dishes, you can add it to savory dishes. It's great, especially in the fall and the colder months. And also, last but not least, I like to do a seasoning blend. So, something that if you're just doing some quick chicken tenders in a pan, and I actually have recipes for quick chicken in a pan or just even in the broiler, and I have recipes for both of those. I do it all the time, at least once a week, and I just do a quick seasoning blend, so that way you don't have to measure out and figure out how much salt, how much garlic powder, all of that. So my favorites are Primal Palette seasonings because they're really clean and delicious, and you really can just find so many different organic blends, and that's what I would encourage you to look for when it comes to blends. It's just organic, because then it doesn't have preservatives and different byproducts and fillers and things like that. So I hope that this helped you guys today. These are the few spices that I always keep on hand, and if you have these on hand, you can pretty much make any recipe on Dashing Dish. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you again soon.